There's a common mistake that many of us tend to make during the Friday prayer, often simply out of ignorance or not being fully aware. And that particular mistake is related to the sermon. The sermon is an obligatory part of the Friday prayer. It's among the obligations. When we leave without listening to that sermon, our Friday prayer is not accepted. Now, to prevent that from happening, they move the sermon to the beginning, and the prayer is performed afterwards. For example, I've seen shopkeepers in the market do this. You can hear it from the mosque now, the imam is speaking. It's clearly the sermon. After the second call to prayer is recited, in that 1 minute, what is that shopkeeper going to sell? What could he possibly earn, He doesn't say, let me lock up my shop and go listen to a few words and learn something. Instead, he waits for the imam to recite that final supplication at the end, He waits for that prayer. While the imam is reciting it, he starts locking up his shop. In that time, by the time the imam comes down and gets to the place where he leads the prayer, the mihrab, right? By the time he gets there, that person has arrived at the mosque. He quickly prays behind the imam, and even before the muezzin finishes his supplication, he's already up and running out, since he's in the back row. He says, I've completed it with 2 rakas. I prayed. Did I do my Friday prayer? Yes, I did. Well, it doesn't work like that. Besides, at that time, there is a verse from the Quran, Allah the Almighty forbids any commerce. Whatever you bought, whatever you sold, whatever you earned is forbidden, it says. In the time of our Master, peace be upon him, just look. Our Master was in the sermon. Back then the prayer was first, and then the sermon was given. Now our Master, peace be upon him, had begun the sermon. And look, they heard the sound of the caravan arriving, the sound of its bells. It says they heard the sound of the approaching caravan, and suddenly the mosque emptied. Our Honorable Sheikh says that either 8 people or 12 people. He says there are 2 narrations remained in the mosque. At that moment, the Archangel Gabriel, peace be upon him, came to our Master, peace be upon him. O Messenger of God, for the sake of the blessing of these 8 people, Allah the Almighty has forgiven your community. He says that if even they hadn't remained, he would have destroyed them. After that, our Master, peace be upon him, changed the practice. He moved the sermon to the beginning. How will they wait for the prayer? He knew we'd try to be shrewd, find a loophole. He knew, but he probably thought, oh, surely they wouldn't do that. He thought, they have to wait for the prayer anyway, so they'll come and listen to the sermon beforehand. So he moved the sermon to the beginning, and the prayer came after. But then we found a solution for that too. We're unmatched when it comes to finding solutions, aren't we? So let's not do that, God willing. We should be careful. The sermon is one of the obligatory parts of the Friday prayer. We need to pay attention to that, God willing.